Oh, the king of deceit himself. Shadow Milk Cookie. Shadow Milk Cookie is based on a jester. It's primarily based on the court jester, contrasting Pure Vanilla Cookie's role as just a king. Jesters are directly tied to kings, as they were designated by decree to be the official entertainers of a royal court. They had the freedom to throw insults at anyone in the court without possibility of reprisal. Even the king himself, and could even be the means of sharing bad news that no other messenger would risk delivering in person. Shadow Cookie's seemingly untouchable nature can be seen as a reflection of the court jester's immunity to be reprisal, while his endless mocking of others serves as a clear extension of the jester's duties, but whereas jesters were subservient to kings, Shadow Cookie subverts this role by wielding a cruel amount of power over his counterpart Pure Vanilla Cookie. And this may also explain why Shadow Cookie is so broken. Yeah, and Dev Sisters never want to kill this thing. Yeah, he's immortal. He comes back. Why? I have no idea why this guy comes back. It's just, I don't know. I could go on a whole rant about that later. The archetype of the jester and the fool would be further reinvented by the plays of William Shakespeare, often used to, who often used them to be the orators of truths that other characters in the play failed to see. Later in history, traveling bands mimicking the court jester's tradition would evolve into pantomime actors who would occupy the stage and entertain crowds with comedic tales and enchanted fables. The most relevant of the roles to Shadow Cookie is the Harley Quinn. Yes, even the villain, a role that took its name from Alhico, a devil named in Dante's Inferno. The Harley Quinn was light-hearted, clever servant that wore a checkered costume and was capable of feats and acrobatics and magic, often undermining the master he served with his antics. Another relevant role is Harley Quinn's complement the clown, a buffoonish lower-class idiot whose actions always resulted in chaos. Yep, that's basically it. And yeah, Shadow Milk Cookies has a Christianity theme. One of Shadow Milk Cookie's common motifs is the eyeball, which present in any space warped by his influence. Eyes can often symbolize sight and recognition of one's material reality. Conversely, a closed eye symbolizes blindness to reality, or delusion. Even prior to his fall, Shadow Milk Cookie's soul jam featured an eye slit, suggesting a power able to perceive the world around it, unlike its other fellow soul jams. However, Shadow Milk Cookie's eyes all feature vertical slit, which is a common feature of predatory ambush animals, owing to their dangerous nature. And Shadow Milk Cookie is based on a snake. Yeah, and snakes are predator animals. Yep. Their colors often being dark blue against a black background also gives the impression of unknowable beings that wait in the darkness, which are a common element of the cosmic horror genre, which terrible truths overwhelm hapless scholars who seek them out. Shadow Cookie's corruption drastically multiplies the eyes on his design and his surroundings, suggesting that not a single entity but multiple entities, much like how multiple eyes can pretend to be the actual truth. And Shadow Cookie does kind of look like an eldritch abomination with all these eyes on him. Yeah, he's an eldritch horror. Yep. And another thing relating to Christian anthology, example of the Eye of Providence, the all-seeing God of God that sees and knows all things. Providence of itself, however, is signified by the triangle that surrounds the eye. Without it, the eye alone can only symbolize knowledge without divinity. This idea is especially represented in the eye that appears behind Shadow Cookie as he gains promotions. The eye first in the only dark blue colors, but adopts elements of colors symbolizing light and purity, such as stylized rays of light, colored tarnished gold. Thus does the eye represent the idea of a false providence pretending to be the truth one, which exemplifies Shadow Cookie taking on the role of Lucifer, the devil himself, a deceitful dialogue to contrast Pure Vanilla Cookie's role as savior figure. Yeah, it keeps up with the snake. It also, Shadow Cookie is based on the serpent from Adam and Eve, the deceitful serpent. You know what I'm talking about. And Candy Apple Cookie also represents the sweet apple. And also, Pure Vanilla Cookie is like Adam, and White Lily is like Eve, so, I mean, who knows? Oh, and the Middle Ages. According to Cookie Run King developers, Shadow Cookie derives some of his themes from Western medieval art, such as illuminating manuscripts, tying into his similarities with Pure Vanilla Cookie as a representation of medieval monarchies. Such art was often seen used to depict either Christian religious narratives or fictional Recantations, again connecting Shadow Milk Cookie to the themes of religion and storytelling his rivalry with his ancient counterpart, Pure Vanilla Cookie. One of these recurring elements in the serpent, a creature often tied to the tree of knowledge of good and evil, is seen as the aspect of the devil himself, who promised godhood to those who would follow it instead only caused them to be thrown out of paradise. Another such element is the wolf dressed as a sheep, referring cautionary fables such as Aesop's The Body Who Cried Wolf and the biblical wolf in sheep's clothing. Aside from directly correlating to Shadow Milk's theme of deceit, the wolf directly makes light of Pure Vanilla Cookie's role as a shepherd, both literally and figuratively. Shadow Milk Cookie, milk theming, his main ingredient, I think, and it is based on one of the things that a cookie is made of. Oh, in the Cookie Run franchise, milk is often used to represent purity or innocence. Similarly, Shadow Milk Cookie's original role as a fountain of knowledge can be seen as not only pure color ingredient by representing purity of soul, but a source of substance for the growing cookie populations of Earthbread. Subverted, milk could be seen as opaque substance, obfuscation of what otherwise be clear as water. Milk is often associated with being complemented to consuming cookies. A look at where cookies are often immersed to make them easier to consume, much like how milk can render a cookie soggy beyond saving. Shadow Milk seems to drown its victims in deception until they too reflect this twisted world and able to perceive anything else. Oh, yeah. Shadow Milk Cookie is a magic as he uses eye magic. Well, deceitful magic. And he's trapping people in. Yeah, he's a magical jester. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. I really like this character. Not as much as everyone else, but I do like this character. This cookie is based on Shiva, a principle of Hindu deity who is once third of its Trimurti, and the focus of its Shaivism subculture. Burning spice is likely derived from the more fierce, wrathful interpretations of Shiva. The base Trimurti personifies the concepts of creation, preservation, and destruction, though its three details Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. These deities perform their attributed tasks not necessarily of explicit benevolence or malice, but to uphold the laws of the universe and reality. Though destruction may have a negative connotation to many, Hindu Brahman states it's a neutral truth, as creation cannot exist without destruction. Shiva's titles of the gods of destruction, or even destroyer, simply one who destroys, relates directly to Burning Spice Cookie's power over destruction and the title of the destroyer. Though Burning Spice Cookie's brand of violent, indulgent carnage turns Shiva's neutral, dissolving aspects of the universe and sometimes equivalent creation on its head, fire in of itself is often a symbol of destruction. Fire can do a lot of damage. That's why it's the most powerful element in gaming. Carnage turns Shiva's... Fire itself is often a symbol of destruction, and thus interpretation of Shiva have noteworthy power over the fire, much like Burning Spice Cookie having the fire element. An example of this is the Natarjara, an archetypical icon of Shiva which depicts him as a cosmic danger holding fire in his hand, representing his control over destruction. The Natarja also features Shiva backed by a ring of flames, which closely resemble the fire wheel present in Burning Spice Cookie's whole thing behind him. Yeah, he has a thing behind him. And often animals are closely related to Shiva. Yeah, Nutmeg Tiger Cookie, anyone, and just the whole spice people in general. Some of his iconography includes his bull mount, Nandi, the Vazuski Sanskrit about his neck, the tiger pelt around his waist, and the deer in general. Somewhat a key foundation of Shaivism, and Shiva is worshipped as the supreme being, refers to the individual's soul as Pashu, translating as animal or beast. In the flock of her, the words are shepherds, or guided by Shiva, as the word of animals. All of the matches with Burning Spice Cookies subjects being animal cookie hybrids like Nutmeg Tiger, or outright animals altogether. Burning Spice Cookie is akin to the Lord and herdsman of all animals, those animals being the citizens of his lands. Other clear connections between Burning Spice Cookie and Shiva are that they're Prashu, weapons, their long matted hair, and occasionally extra pair of arms. Oh, and Burning Spice Cookie looks like a male lion. It's not just me that knows that, right? That thinks that. There's gotta be someone out there that agrees with me on that. He kind of looks like a lion. The hair looks like a mane. His teeth look like sharp razor teeth. If he had a nose, he would look very like a lion. Oh, and his axe. Oh, why is he in charge? He rams people with an axe. He actually uses axe to fight. It makes sense. It's pretty obvious when you really think about it. Oh, and he's the first cookie to put a debuff on somebody, on his allies. Really shows you how destructive he is. He really doesn't care about his own allies. All he cares about is destruction. Yes, Burning Spice Cookie is, yeah, the epitome of destruction. Okay, Eternal Sugar Cookie, whole design right here is based on the Hellenistic period, a time when Greek art, culture, and philosophy thrived with an emphasis on both grandeur and emotional expression. And her clothing, her flowing chiton, a loose, elegant garment worn by figures in the ancient Greek world, served as a visual nod to Hellenistic fashion. The chiton symbolized grace, purity, and divine, as it was traditionally worn by gods and goddesses in ancient depictions. A lyre. In addition to her attire, her instrument right here is another key element in her design. Drawing from the Greek mythological tradition, the lyre was closely associated with the Greek god Apollo, who represented harmony, music, and order. Although in this case, the music Eternal Sugar plays is one to hypnotize her victims. The Garden of Delights, where Eternal Sugar Cookie resides, is a clear nod to Elysium, the parasitical realm in Greek mythology reserved for the souls of the virtuous and heroic. Much like Elysium, her garden is a place of eternal peace, where nothing seems out of place, and every element of the environment is maliciously created to evoke perfection. In ancient Greek thought, Elysium was a utopia, untouched by suffering or hardship. However, much like Eternal Sugar Cookie's vision, Elysium was also a realm that could be seen as an escape from the complexities of real life, a state of eternal rest that could breed complacency, stagnation, and a lack of growth. The architecture of the garden also borrows heavily from Hellenistic designs, where luxurious temples, serene columns, and grand statues were common. The Garden of Delights mirrors these features quite a lot. Eternal happiness, the fall from grace. Eternal Sugar's fall into sloth was the roots in Hellenistic philosophy, particularly in the concept of hedonism. In the Hellenistic era, the pursuit of pleasure and peace was central, but the pursuit of ultimate comfort and tranquility was often seen as a path that could lead to decay rather than growth. This mirrors Eternal Sugar Cookie's belief that perfect happiness must be eternal, but even at the cost of freedom and personal autonomy. Her drive to trap others and her vision of happiness can also be interpreted as a perversion of the Hellenistic ideal of tranquility, twisting it into something stagnant and controlling. The concept of the Lotus Eaters from Greek mythology fits as well as with Eternal Sugar's Cookie's fall into sloth and her desire to maintain perfect eternal happiness. In the myth of lotus eaters, sailors who eat the lotus flower forget their home and become trapped in a blissful, stagnant existence where they are no longer desire to return to reality. This parallels Eternal Sugar's vision of happiness. She seeks to trap others in a state of blissful contentment, denying them for the agency or freedom to grow, change, or experience the full spectrum of life. She is also likely based on our Aphrodite, or specifically her Roman counterpart Venus, as Pavlova Cookie is based on Cupid, the son of Venus. Venus herself is also known to be benevolent to her children, but vengeful and quite manipulative to those who oppose her, reflecting it Sugar Cookie's Texas alluring and Hollyberry Cookie. Her sweet and motherly nature and her mythic beauty, Venus is also associated to some degree with wine, which is found, while referred to as juice throughout the Garden of Lights, Venus Murcia, a margin of Venus, with the little-known deity Murcia, is also referred to the Christian rite as a goddess of laziness and sloth. So, Eternal Sugar Cookie's Christianity has a lot of things. There's a lot of Christian themes in her design, so let's just get on. First of all, she's based off of an angel. That's obvious. And a demon. The beast angel's wings immediately evoke the traditional Christian representation of angels. Divines of grace often dress in flowing robes similar to those inherited from Greco-Roman artistic traditions and adorned with halos. Eternal Sugar Cookie doesn't simply possess angelic traits. She also spade-tipped tail. She has a spear-tipped tail, a characteristic that is commonly associated with demons, and also has imp-like wings, possibly sprouting from her waist, which are smaller bat-like and suggestive of something more infernal. The duality of her angelic and demonic state mirrors the imagery of fallen angels in Christianity, particularly the idea that divine beings can be corrupted by sin and desire. The shape at the end of her circlet could resemble horns of a demon, further representing her sinful nature in Christianity. Eternal sugar cookies and scent and sloth represents a powerful theme in Christian narratives. The paroxy and sanity and temptation, and how the higher one rises, the farther one may fall. Her mixed features suggest a liminal state, not fully angel, not fully demon, visually echoing the tragedy of being like Lucifer or mythic figures such as Lilith, who is in some traditions represent rebellion and exile from paradise. Oh yeah. Secondly, acts kind of demonic. She has demon eyes. Okay, the sin of sloth, Belphegor. Sloth is was one of the seven deadly sins. It's more mere than just mere laziness. In medieval theology, it was understood as sadia, a spiritual lethargy or despair that leads to the rejection of divine goodness and one's own potential. In this way, sloth is deeply linked to the fall because it represents the loss of purpose and turning away from grace. Can think back to Eternal Sugar Cookie's corruption. The Garden of Ed and Eve. Eternal Sugar Cookie embodying the tempting power of sloth can be seen as a reflection of Eve and Eden. While Eve's downfall came through action, reaching for the forbidden fruit, sloth comes from inaction, a slow, sweet surrender into decay. Yet both stories of departure from divine favor. Both are framed in terms of despair, and both are ultimately catalysts for transforming, for better or worse. The Garden of Delights is also referred to as a paradise that bears no pain and suffering, just like the Garden of Eden. The Gardens of Delights all resemble the classic painting The Garden of Earthly Delights by Hieronymus Bosch, a 15th century triptych that with a central panel depicting the pursuit of worldly pleasures, ultimately deriving from the sins of Adam and Eve. Many of the elements found in Eternal Sugar Cookie's Garden Delights are surreal. Flying fish, eyeballs with wings, headless unicorns, while bearing to the direct congruence with details in the painting. The piece's title is nearly identical to the garden's name, mere omitting the word earthly. The map design of episode 10 of Beasties also seems directly referenced to the painting itself, even including the hellish part of the painting on the right side of the map as a reference as well. Yeah, pretty dark stuff. Continuing from Shadow Milk Cookie's own motif, snakes are a prevalent feature of Garden Delights, again reflecting the serpent of the story of Adam and Eve. Unlike in the source material, the snakes that roam the Garden of Delights have visible wings. They subtly blend into their backgrounds, somewhat reflecting how Eternal Sugar Cookie herself come out as a snake. Being equally as deceitful as Shadow Milk Cookie, this is the self. Yeah, and she has like snake eyes. You know the slit eye pupils she's got? Yeah, that's literally snake eyes. And that's why she's poison type. She's like a poisonous snake. And her whole theming with sugar, Eternal Sugar Cookie's identity as a pure sugar mirrors her nature. Sugar is energized and mood lifting in small doses, much like her original purpose to make cookies happy. Her soft demeanor reflects the comforting sweetness sugar brings, but excess sugar is harmful. It dulls energy, contributes to fatigue, and is linked to long-term health issues, symbolic of slow and creeping decline. Eternal Sugar Cookie's sugary sweetness becomes a trap, lulling others into stillness and decay. The garden she dwells in, laced with imagery of teeth, some teethlings have been hollow like cavities, reinforcing this what once promised sweet joy now rots from within. Additionally, the tufts that hang from her side bangs and the crystal highlights all her hair seem to replicate or at least resembles sucrose. Her hair is being in light magenta pink, with the texture being thick and voluminous, could possibly be a nod to cotton candy, which is typically 99 to 100% sugar. Oh, and you're just eating calories. Pure calories. That's all it is. It's a calorie nightmare. Just like eternal sugar is a calorie nightmare. Sugar also comes either naturally in fruits or its refinement added in baked pastries and desserts, seemingly reflect both herself and her ancient counterpart, Hollyberry Cookie, who represents berries. Many citizens of the Hollyberry Kingdom are based on a plethora of berry flavors, most of which are culinary fruits. You know, how wildberry is wildberry, raspberry is raspberry, you get it. And I think Princess Cookie might be based on a berry herself, but I don't know. Fruits also contain natural sugars, fructose and glucose, which are less harmful than the pure sucrose and are refined sugars, processed sweetener, and gold granulated white sugar that Eternal Sugar Cookie may represent. Oh, the reason why Eternal Sugar Cookie is a bomber is because she's loved bombing people. That's literally it. Oh, okay. And she does AoE damage and freeze them in place. I think she might be based on a nuke. Yeah, and then it's pretty easy for people to attack on a stun bomb. Yeah, that's base it. Definitely one of my second favorite beats behind Burning Spice. I like this lady. I think she's cool. And her death was pretty sad, I will say. She just sleeps. Like, she just sleeps. She just gives up like that. Like, that's so sad. Is based on a dark knight. A knight from fantasy, from a dark, is a brooding, heavy armored warrior traversing a ruined, magical, cursed world. And that's literally what he's doing. And also, he also looks like a salt shaker. The top of his helmet also looks the top of a salt shaker. And he might be based on armor Pete, based on a ghost in a cloud of armor. Whenever he makes an animation in his overworld animations, whenever he comes falling down, he does kind of look like out of ordinary. He looks like he's not a physical being. He looks like he's a ghost. And he is a dark type, and did kill a bunch of people. And he has this undead theming right here. There's no ghost element in Cookie Run Kingdom yet, but he could be undead. He is a shadow of his former self, so he might actually be a ghost. Who really knows? You have Eternal Sugar Cookie, who's an angel. Burning Spice kind of looks like a deity. You have what's his name? Shadow Milk Cookie is based on a freaking Satan and stuff. That's literally what it is. And Mystic Flower is based on a Chinese god. So a Chinese, person of power. So he might be based on a famous ghost or something. I don't know. Yeah, Silent Soul Cookie's whole moon theming here is that most fantasy games, Dark Knights get their powers from the moon. Kind of like in Final Fantasy. Oh, Final Fantasy, and definitely World of Warcraft. The Moon Knight, yeah, that's what Silent Soul Cookie is kind of like. Next, Silent Soul Cookie could be based on odd things. Yeah, is an ambush because he is slicing the moon. That is a ambush attack, and he is on a horse while doing it. Imagine a flying horse just coming right at you, and this guy slices the knight on it, and the knight slices the moon and puts trouble and leaves AOE damage. Yeah, that's literally Silent Soul Cookie. And he also puts debuffs on the enemy because he's a Dark Knight. Dark Knights do that in many popular fantasy games. It's actually pretty smart to think about. It's actually pretty obvious what he's based on. Oh, and this hair, he kind of looks like Rapid Dash. I'm sorry. This whole thing on his head, this little spirit, yeah, and this flames on top of it, do kind of look ghostly. Yeah, he moves like a ghost. I'm sorry. He's a ghost Dark Knight. Let's also see what salt represents. Salt is very, very hot. It's very blunt. It doesn't make any mistakes, and it can be kind of spicy. Not as spicy as spice, but it can be hot, kind of like salt cookie. Oh, and salt can represent stoicism. Silent Salt Cookie is very stoic. Since oh, and basically, soul also represent perseveration, purification, hostility, and unbreaking covenants, because it stops decay and enhances flavor. Okay, so Silent Soul did kind of stop the Beast. He did stop them with Elder Fairy before he came the Beast. I mean, it does make sense. It's pretty smart, actually. Oh, and perseverance in eternity? In the ancient world, salt was essential for preserving food and preserving decay, which led to its permanence and corruptibility. And also, Silent Salt is hostile. Can also represent healing. He did heal the land when he sealed the beast away with Elder Fairy, so yeah, pretty obvious stuff with Silent Salt Cookies based on. Pretty easy stuff. He is based on Ganyan, a Buddha Vista from that is the Han Buddhism version of Akavalaskra, especially in a white robe form. We're just gonna refer to this Buddha Vista as Ganyan instead of anything else because this for consistency reasons. And Bodhi Vista, okay, so Ganyan is a Bodhi Vista who is closely related to compassion and mercy. She is often called upon during times of strife, pain, and suffering. At surface value, Mystic Flower Cookie's whole appearance clearly mirrors of that of Ganyan. The Bodhisattva often depicted with snow white. Han Fu, which and skin, a gold necklace akin to that of a Chinese royalty, a tall headpiece sheathed in fabric adorned with that icon. Yeah, so that's Mystic Flower's head icon, right? You see that gem that's on her head? Yeah, that's literally her icon. And a halo of light around her head, all while being positioned in a blooming lotus. Where Mystic Flower Cookie's design differs from Ganyan's comic depictions, however, is that she also bears a floating peebo, a celestial, which translated in English, a celestial raiment, often seen in depictions of Chinese mythological or religious figures. And her halo of light only appears at a certain promotion grade. So yeah, like the moon behind her. Additionally, Ganya is often associated with dragons. This may relate to Mystic Flower Cookie throughout the black and white of the Dark Cacao, or Dragon of the Dark Cacao region, along with dragons seen in their gotcha background. A parallel between Mystic Flower Cookie's modest operandi of reducing things to flower dust, along with overall flowering them, can be seen in portions of the White Robe Ganyan mantra, which is, by powers of sky and earth, I implore with firm resolve, all hardships leave us behind, and to dust they shall dissolve. Mystic Flower Cookie's convictions of continuous suffering, impermanence, and emptiness coincides closely with the teaching of Buddhism, and which the markings of existence of a dukkha dukkha, which translates to unease and suffering in English. Sanskrit, which Ananika Axia, which translates to impermanence in English from Chinese, and Anamata, which is Chinese for Wuo, a state in which living things have no true soul essence or self, which is translated in English. Her wish for all beings to be free from the fear of and pain of perpetual cycles of being baked and crumble aligns with Buddhists seeking of an escape from the cycle of samsara through an attainment of nirvana, enlightenment. Additionally, Mystic Flower Cookie's light of apathy more accurately translates from Korean as the light of nothingness, futility, or emptiness, which directly correlates the self and the essence of living things, having no meaning or existence, thus being empty. Where Mystic Flower Cookie's ideology differs from Buddhism, however, is that she seeks to perpetually cut off the lives of every being regardless of their deeds. True Vistas of Buddhism seek to guide beings into attaining their own righteousness that they are given in life. Regardless of her methods, Mystic Flower Cookie's actions still remain akin to the responsibility of Buddhistas. Both seek to free sentient life from the moral coil and influences them towards they consider to be enlightenment. And why Mystic Flower Cookie is a healer? It's simple. She heals people. Not joking. And I guess goddesses do heal people. She is healing people. She thinks she's doing that, but she really isn't. She's really killing them. Yeah, so she used to heal people back then, but now she doesn't anymore. So, yeah. That's it. Mystic Flower Cookie's interesting.